Greetings, viewers. It's a glum and blah day today. I'm trapped inside, my TV is really old and broken, and I can't change the channel. It's stuck on a station running a marathon of ironically misogynist songs from classic musicals.
But women are irrational, that's all there is to that. Their heads are full of cotton hay and rags. They're nothing but exasperating, irritating, vacillating, calculating, agitating, maddening, and infuriating hags.
So, this afternoon, for a change of pace, I wanted to pitch an idea to you. Most people I meet want to make the world a better place, and it always cheers me up to see folks pick their own special way of giving back to humanity. Today, I'm going to try to convince you that, as far as United States policy goes, the issue of immigration should be one of your most important priorities, if your goal is to have a big positive impact on the world. I'm going to judge the issue of immigration reform by using 3 criteria: scale, tractability, and uncrowdedness. These are the criteria used by Owen Cotton-Barrat in his excellent talk about how to prioritize causes, which I encourage you to watch. I mean, it beats what I've been sitting through for the past 2 days.
It takes a woman all powdered and pink to joyously clean out the drain in the sink. And it takes an angel with long golden lashes and soft Dresden fingers for dumping the ashes.
Part 1. Scale. Scale is basically the size of a problem, how much good can be done in an area, or how many people would be affected. For example, if you had a choice between giving a doggy treat to 1 puppy or giving doggy treats to 100 puppies, the 100 puppies is a problem of bigger scale. Now, just on the face of it, immigration as a national issue is a problem of enormous scale. Over 40 million immigrants live in the United States, although to be fair, strong immigration reform might not necessarily directly benefit this population. Good reform would have a bigger impact on the 11 million unauthorized immigrants currently living here, as well as their 4 million citizen children. To reiterate, even if you are only interested in helping citizens, immigration reform directly helps a very large group of citizen children, almost 1 out of every 20 citizen children. There are even bigger effects to be made in the lives of people who would be allowed to live in the United States if comprehensive reform occurred. A low-skill immigrant coming to the U.S. usually sees tremendous gains in their income and productivity, often doubling or tripling the amount of money they make. Immigration into the U.S. also has an enormous benefit worldwide, in the form of remittances, the money that is sent overseas by immigrant workers. According to the Institute for Agricultural Development, 800 million people worldwide depend heavily on remittances for their income, with the United States being the country that sends the most remittances abroad, about 13% of the total. If we assume an equal distribution, that makes over 100 million people who live outside the United States and who directly benefit from their family members moving inside the United States. By just about any measure, even when compared to other important issues in the United States, the scale of this issue is large and demands attention. But scale alone, of course, is not the only factor to consider.
Pretty and trim, but kinda slim. Heavenly eyes, but oh, that size. She's gotta be right to be the bride for me. Bless your beautiful hide, wherever you may be.
Part 2. Tractability. Tractability is a measure of how easy it is to make progress on a problem. So if your puppy is sad because she has an itch that she can't reach, that's a problem with high tractability, time for a good scratchin'. But if your puppy is sad because she has nightmares, that's a problem with low tractability, given the difficulty of tracking down an expert in dog inception. So, how tractable are problems caused by our immigration enforcement in the United States? Well, there are admittedly many difficulties connected to immigration. The dozens of different visa types, the uncomfortable nuances of civil law, and that most intractable of institutions, the IRS. There's also the nasty problem that immigration has fallen into the pit of despair that is the culture war. However straightforward the actual steps of reform may seem, you may view immigration reform as politically intractable. These are legitimate objections, but to a surprising degree, good immigration reform is extremely tractable because so much of it involves simply letting people live their lives unmolested. You know how we deport large numbers of undocumented immigrants? We could not do that. You know how we fine employers for hiring undocumented immigrants? We could not do that either. not imprison people, not withhold driver's licenses, not prosecute border crossers, or at very least have much less of all these things. It takes a tremendous amount of money and time and effort to punish millions of people for coming to our fair country without proper papers. In many areas, it really is simpler just to let them live their lives, making this issue a very tractable one.
A girl must be like a blossom, with honey for just one man. A man must live like honeybee and gather all he can.
Part 3. Uncrowdedness. Uncrowdedness is a measure of how uncrowded a problem area is. It's exactly what it says on the tin. Think of it this way. If your puppy really wants to play fetch when it's just the two of you at the park, that's an uncrowded problem. Your tennis ball throws could be the best thing that happened to your puppy all week. But if your puppy wants to play fetch while you're at a family reunion with 21 cousins all eager to play with the puppy, that's a crowded problem. Your contribution probably isn't quite as needed. So, how crowded is the immigration debate? Well, to tell the truth, it is pretty crowded. There are a half dozen well-funded organizations trying to add more immigration restrictions, and several others actively working to loosen them. There is not one, but several large government agencies concerned with immigration, and dozens of non-governmental organizations working in areas like refugee resettlement. Immigration is a favorite research topic for many of the biggest think tanks in the US, like the Heritage Foundation, the Brookings Institute, the Cato Institute, and the Rand Corporation. Finally, when the public is asked about what issues they prioritize, immigration seems to currently be somewhere in the middle of the rankings. From what I can see, crowdedness is a legitimate weakness in the case for immigration as a policy priority. When you consider whether advocating for immigration reform is a good use of your time, you may need to weigh the crowdedness of the topic against two stronger aspects, its scale and tractability. That's what I did, and what I concluded was...
Let a woman in your life, and Patience hasn't got a chance. She will beg you for advice, your reply will be concise, and she'll listen very nicely, then go out and do precisely what she wants.
Conclusion.
You are a man of grace.
So, I don't think immigration is a grand slam for each of these three metrics, but let me finish up by suggesting that it compares very well to almost all other national policies. In the end, most important policies are crowded, in the sense that there is a controversy surrounding them. Few policies affect so many people in such a dramatic way as immigration does. Most national policy problems aren't very tractable either, requiring careful organization or massive amounts of funding. Immigration reform is comparatively very tractable, at least in the technical sense. And, as I hope to discuss in a later video, it may be tractable in a political sense as well. If your goal is to lessen human suffering and promote well-being, it seems to me that immigration reform should be very high up on your list of priorities. It's at least worth, say, reading one book on the topic, wouldn't you say? Or how about just a few Wikipedia articles? Well, food for thought. In the meantime, if you know a good TV repairman who will finally let me change the darn channel, leave their contact info in the comments. I mean, I guess you could also tell me what you think of my analysis, or ask a question, or write a limerick. You know, if you don't have anything better to do. Thank you for your time.
And in the winter she'll shovel the ice and lovingly set out the traps for the mice. She's a joy and treasure, for practically speaking, to whom can you turn when the plumbing is leaking?